Despite the provocative thumbnail, I don't think this is going to be a negative video. At least, not negative by my standards. I think You and Idol Precure is a fun show so far. It's cute, it's entertaining, and it's definitely the best of all the modern Precure seasons I've tried. And again, the bar is incredibly low, but still. I do have quite a few negative things to say about it, and we'll get to them, don't you worry. But ever since I saw the first episode and I was like, hey, this actually isn't awful, I knew I liked it enough to want to follow it and do more critique on the series. So, welcome to the first of hopefully many more 10-episode backed reviews. This is mostly going to be a casual thing where I just go through my notes on the episodes, and spend most of my time on overall conclusions on where I think the show is going. So, let's just get right into it. Episode 1, the one I already talked about. So I already covered my thoughts on Episode 1 in the premiere video, link in the description. But for the sake of thoroughness, I'll briefly go over them again. It was fun, it was cute, and it definitely served as a good introduction to the show. Like, I mentioned how it had an interesting sense of humor. We definitely get to see a lot more of that throughout the show. I also mentioned how it had these weird issues with pacing and scene transitions. We definitely get to see a lot more of that throughout the show too. Episode 2, the one where Cure Idol goes viral. I didn't write much here, as you can see. I think I was definitely disappointed, but in a way where I just kind of expected to be disappointed, so it didn't really hurt much. This was the episode where Uta learns to take her job as a hero seriously, and I appreciated that character moment. Unfortunately, that was like 15 seconds out of a fairly meh 22-minute episode. Also, this is where we introduce the Puridun films the girls and posts videos of them online without their knowledge or consent running gag. We'll talk more about that a little later. Episode 3, the one with the ugly CGI. This was, in hindsight, a very poorly written episode, probably the worst one of the three at that time. Basically, it felt really rushed, and it did not have to be. The majority of the episode was just them stapling together random 20-second scenes, jumping all around a very simple character arc as if they had no idea how to write it as a continuous story. Even though studious high-class girl puts too much pressure on herself and learns to do things for fun, has been done to death in magical girl media. There's probably hundreds of characters like this, including dozens of predecessors in the Precure series itself. It should not have been difficult to write this episode, and yet they struggled with it so hard we ended up with this bizarre, disjointed mess. This lack of focus really sucked all the power out of Cure Wink's debut. When I think back to these first 10 episodes, I usually just forget this one exists. Episode 4, the one with the hot guy. I think this episode annoyed me a bit, because it was the first one where it was clear they were trying to do some interesting things with the character interactions. But the horrible pacing, again, sucks all the power out of everything. I don't know if it was an issue with the animation pipeline, or if the directors just weren't paying attention, but at this point it became clear that the show's bad habit of constantly jumping from scene to scene was not going away anytime soon. Even the camera is constantly cutting to new things. We don't see people entering and leaving scenes, we just suddenly cut to them in whatever location they're in. It makes watching the show feel disorienting, and overall it makes the characters feel flat and artificial, because they get maybe 10 seconds to try to engage with a story beat before we cut to something else. Kaito was probably the biggest victim of this issue so far, because of the type of character he is. He's clearly supposed to be that inspirational dude who hangs out in the background, makes a cameo every now and then to have a fun little interaction with the main characters. Unfortunately, Kaito is not fun because he has no personality. He's cute, yes. He's clearly kind and sensitive and nice, and he does everything perfectly because of course he does. And yet, he has all the charm of a block of wood. He lacks real warmth, he doesn't seem to have a sense of humor or pride or any likes and dislikes in particular. There's just nothing there. Because you can't build a cute, inspirational cameo character on these rapid-fire scenes that barely even give him a chance to talk. You could if you made him an over-the-top cartoony character like they do with the villains, but seeing as they only do that for the villains, I don't think they want that for anyone else in the show. They seem to want most of the characters to feel more low-key and realistic, but that takes time. You need to slow things down and let people have actual conversations. These pretty-looking inspirational moments they do occasionally are not enough. These should be the climaxes of character arcs, not their only instances of real substance. Episode 5, the one with the product endorsement. I'm going to talk more about this one near the end of the video, because hoo boy, the social commentary. This was not a good look for the series. It feels like a pretty innocent episode, but if you stop to think critically about it for even 10 seconds, it has some interesting implications. For now, I'll just say that it was structured better than the ones before it. I liked how it introduced us to the idea of the idols starting to interact with the showbiz world, trying to conduct themselves like professionals despite being random teens who have no idea what they're doing. Also, let it be known that my prediction about Idol Precure doing all the idol work, while the girls themselves maintain their secret identities, came true after all. I called it gold star for me. The way they did it was kind of stupid though, having Uta and Nana literally sitting right there as if no one in this universe has a brain. If you're making a deal to hire a pair of idols to work for you, and their manager shows up with a pair of random girls around the same age as those idols, who need to approve everything you ask the idols to do, who would you think those girls were? Take your time now, I know this is a real puzzler. Ask a friend for help if it's too difficult to figure out. I believe in you. Episodes 6 and 7, the ones that were actually good. I'm going to go ahead and talk about these together, partly because they're two halves of the same storyline, and partly because my notes about them were essentially identical. They're absolutely useless because I was enjoying the episodes too much to think about writing anything down. I mean, they actually introduced us to a character with passion, personality, and drive. A character who talks to people about her concerns and about decisions she needs to make, almost like she actually has a life outside the confines of the show. Like, her interactions with this guy from the dance club floored me. This was the most in-depth, actually effective writing the show had done so far. This idea that she is a good dancer and enjoys it and probably belongs in the dance club, but decides to focus on Idol Precure because her love for them and her ambition to be like them fuels her desire to dance, and that's what's most important to her right now. And then reconsidering that decision when she stops feeling worthy of joining the group, and then finally reaffirming her original decision when her character arc is complete. It's just so good! I mean, let's be real here, this is honestly the bare minimum. To be able to make your character think and talk like a human being about their interests and hobbies and hopes and dreams is the absolute least that any professional writer should be capable of. But again, the bar is so low that it feels like a breath of fresh air. Kokoro is out here having full conversations where we learn about the depth of her character, and meanwhile Uta and Nana can barely speak 2 sentences in a row about arbitrary fluff. It's almost insulting that Kokoro is written to admire and look up to characters who are so much more shallow than she is. Like, if we didn't know Idol Precure, and Kokoro was the only main character of the show, this interaction would make sense. But as it is, we do know them, and we know that these "I hope you'll keep supporting me, ooh-woo" cliches are basically it as far as their character depth goes. So, like, intrinsically, on a gut level, at least for me, it almost feels like Kokoro is doing something wrong by putting them on such a high pedestal. Like it's a character flaw that she needs to overcome as the series goes on. And they could do that. I hope they do, even if they just do it in a way where they're saying that Kyo Kyun needs to start seeing herself as an equal member of the group. Whatever gets her to stop fawning over these characters who really don't deserve it. Episode 8, the one with the best girl. There's more shameless Kokoro glazing in these notes, yes, but as she started becoming a regular part of the show, I was finally able to start paying attention to the stuff happening around her. For instance, I realized that Tanaka is useless and has even less personality than Kaito, which is almost impressive. I also realized that Puridun, whose character was being shoved further and further into the background as the series went on, miraculously came back to life as soon as Kokoro entered the picture. All of a sudden, they're back to being adorable and saying and doing cute things, and their friendship with Kokoro in this episode is really sweet. I feel like they really bonded over being fans of Idol Precure, and now they kind of just get each other, like they have this rapport. More often than not, Puridun is seen being held by Kokoro instead of, the main character who's the first human being they ever bonded with, and who you'd think would have a closer relationship with them by now. Episode 9, the one where Nana gets weird. I genuinely enjoyed watching this episode. However, I don't think it's good, and I don't think I actually like it. Media criticism is weird like that sometimes. Basically, I think they kind of dumbed down the characters to force this silly humor to work, even though they really didn't have to. Like, instead of having Uta and Kokoro give commentary on Nana like they're in a nature documentary, despite being literally right in front of her, and having Nana act totally oblivious to their reactions, why not have her friends actually talk to her and ask questions, and have Nana explicitly deny that she's acting weird? Like, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm always busting rhymes about math class and role-playing kaiju. Clearly, you haven't been paying attention. And if you want Uta and Kokoro to be constantly whispering about Nana while this is going on, put them in a setting where they can separate from each other more often. Like, make it a day where the girls are helping to run the cafe, so Nana can do her weird stuff and then go off to deal with a customer, and Uta and Kokoro can be like, what the heck was that, while she's gone. Like, there is a smarter way to write this plotline, but it feels like the writers chose the simplest, most low-effort way possible, even at the expense of bending logic. Because, well, the 4-year-olds in the audience won't know the difference. Like, first of all, I'm pretty sure this show is also supposed to be accessible to 14-year-olds, not just 4-year-olds. And second of all, children deserve quality writing too. Episode 10, the one where you will appreciate Kyun-Kyun, or else. Although this was another episode that I feel was not very good, I actually do kinda like it. I gotta give a shout out to the atrocious animation though. I think this is the worst it's ever been. Since the beginning of the show, the animators have clearly struggled with staying on model, but this is crazy. Some of them must have been half asleep. Anyway, I just think Kokoro's arc was sweet. I always thought she was a bit of a socially awkward character, and this episode really showcases that aspect of her personality. It's not like she doesn't know how to interact with people, she just tends to get flustered and second-guess herself when the pressure is on. Plus, you know, she's literally 13, with no prior training in the entertainment biz as far as we know. I'm not surprised that she's still making mistakes and trying to figure things out. Really, it's unrealistic that Uta and Nana seem to take to the idol thing so easily, especially since their characters are so hollow. We have no idea where this talent is coming from. Like, Uta sings all the time, and she's clearly loved to sing since she was a child. When you tell me that she's just naturally a good singer, I can believe that. And Nana practices her piano skills all the time. I can see where that's coming from. But what about everything else? Why are they good dancers? Why are they so comfortable in a recording booth and when interacting with fans? Where did they get their people skills? Especially Nana, who was being incredibly socially awkward literally 1 episode ago. And while we're talking about Nana, why is she a good singer? Unlike Uta, she doesn't seem interested in singing at all. Honestly, I have zero idea why she's supposedly so good at being an idol. Her only interest seems to be playing the piano. We have been given no reason to believe she would instantly be comfortable with everything else. Now, none of this is inherently a problem. There is such thing as suspension of disbelief, after all. But it's very hard to suspend your disbelief for one character and not suspend it for another character in the same situation. And having Kokoro approach show business like a realistic child who still needs to learn and grow makes the other two's natural talent impossible to take seriously. Again, it's like Kokoro is the only real character here. It reads like the other two are either insincere or they don't actually matter to the story. And that is my first big overall conclusion about this show. It feels like Kokoro is the only character who actually matters, the only one who gets a consistent, professional level of attention from the showrunners. I genuinely like Kokoro. I don't call her best girl for nothing. But, I mean, if she's the only character that matters, what is everyone else even here for? Why are we wasting time on 2 additional protagonists with a fraction of her character depth? Or the better question, why are we not fleshing them out on the same level as Kokoro, instead of just pretending they're just as important as her when they clearly aren't? It feels amateurish, and it leaves a bad taste in my mouth about the show as a whole. I'd enjoy Kokoro a lot more if she just happened to appeal to me the most out of a cast full of well-written characters. As it is, she just happens to be the only decently written character in the show, which forces me to suspect that maybe I don't actually like her as much as I think I do. And now for my second big overall conclusion. I hate to say it, but so far the show is definitely low-key glorifying and oversimplifying the concept of being an idol, in exactly the way I was afraid of. Like, it's actually kind of astonishing how they're just stepping into that bear trap with their whole leg. Now, I understand the woobifying of real-life careers in this type of kids' media. Like, for instance, imagine a magical girl baker saying that running a bakery is all about loving sweets and sharing that love with others. Now, in real life, no, running a bakery is actually more about getting up at 3 a.m. so you can have fresh donuts ready for the breakfast crowd. But we'll focus on the love and fulfillment and the happy feelings because it's easier for little kids to understand. And anyway, they'll figure out the logistical stuff when they get older. Even if some 11-year-old actually believes that a bakery runs on happiness, they won't be able to own one and find out until much later in life. Not so with being a celebrity, especially in the notoriously exploitative idol industry. Kids can easily apply the messages from this show to their lives right now. And what are they learning here? Apparently, being an idol is a job that's as easy as having someone record and post a video of you without your consent. 3 times so far. And securing job opportunities from random commenters underneath those videos who are definitely trustworthy. But wait, before you take that job, you'll need a manager to help you negotiate. Literally nothing. He never even mentions money or contractual obligations, even though that's the whole point of being a manager. Anyway, be on the lookout for someone who stalks you in the woods and randomly shows up at your house to offer his services. When he takes a new part-time job just to be near you all the time, that's when you know you got a keeper. But watch out, being an idol isn't all fun and games. Every once in a while you gotta deal with your toxic fans. You know, those people who will obsessively watch your videos and admit to liking you when they're alone, but try to harm you in public because the authorities in their lives won't allow them to like you, and that hostility and frustration has to go somewhere. This definitely isn't an analog to anything that happens in real life. Now I admit, I'm being facetious here. I know that the writers of this season didn't mean to make all these uncomfortable implications. But, I mean, let's be real here. That's a lot of implications to not mean to make. And the series has barely started. Like the title of the video says, what are we doing here? Like for instance, did we really need Precure to record and post these videos without the girl's knowledge or consent, which I'm pretty sure is illegal in Japan specifically? Like, it's actually kind of wild that they chose to make this into their cute running gag. If you just want a silly reason for Cure Idol to end up on the internet, why not have Precure record the video just to show Uta how cool she looks? You know, relatively innocent. And then have Uta herself decide to post the videos online, because she's an impulsive teenager who wants to be famous and have a secret alter ego like Hannah Montana and doesn't think about the potential consequences. Boom, same outcome, just as ridiculous without the discomfort. To give another example, do we really need the villains to be secret superfans of the heroes they're trying to beat down every week? Like, I understand that we're trying to build a character arc here. They'll start out being ashamed of liking the heroes, but eventually they'll overcome that shame and abandon their evil ways to support their favorite celebrities. But it feels weird to do it this way. Like, this way, specifically, portraying it as a grown man's guilty pleasure. I don't know, it kind of makes me uncomfortable. If you want the villains to go through this arc, why not just do it organically? Make it so the villains initially don't care about these girls and don't know what idols are, so they don't have a reason to care. But they're impressed by them through their battles, and even though they don't really understand the dancing and singing stuff, they're kinda into it, so they start looking forward to facing them. And then, eventually, their relationship becomes amicable enough to allow a redemption. And then from there, they learn about their careers as celebrities and want to watch all their videos and support them in that light. Like, believe it or not, most people are more comfortable when their biggest fans are their friends, not their enemies. And that character progression isn't an original idea. I'm pretty sure other Magical Girl shows have done similar things before. I don't know why they decided to go with this weird toxic fan route instead. The only benefit I see is the comedy potential of, haha, you like the Magical Girl even though you're not supposed to. But it's really not funny enough to be worth it, to be honest. Which brings me to my third and final conclusion. It's still early, but I think it's already safe to say that the writing of the show does not really want to examine what it means to be an idol or any kind of celebrity. And personally, I don't expect it to, but I know other people did. Back when I made my first video to predict what this series would be like, a lot of commenters seemed to think the show was going to make a genuine attempt to address my concerns about the girls' mindsets and mental health. And I was definitely willing to wait to see if it might try. But then episode 5 came along, and I was like, yeah, no. I don't think trying is even on their radar. Let it be known that the girls' first official job as idols isn't sharing their musical talents with the world, but instead endorsing a product. not using their creativity or passion or self-expression, but instead letting other people use them to make their fans spend money. Like, wow, that's kind of bleak when you think about it. With the limitless power and fantasy potential of a magical girl, you can now engage in capitalism. How magical. Believe it or not, the fact that the person running this ad campaign is really passionate about this lipstick does not change the fact that it is a product from a corporation. But with the way they depict this character in this episode, it feels like it's unironically supposed to. Like, look, this cute, sweet, kind young lady has a genuine connection to the product, which means it is good and okay for these girls to be associated with the product. Wait, what do you mean that's exactly how advertisers use emotional manipulation on real consumers? When I said this might be the first problematic season of Precure in my initial video, I was kinda just joking, but the more I watch, the more I am convinced that this might actually legitimately be the first truly problematic season of Precure. Again, I'm astonished that this is actually happening. I can't even be mad. I'm just flabbergasted. I hope the show will take a more critical look at what it's portraying and endorsing as it goes on. Despite everything I said, it's definitely not too late for it to turn things around, or at least give viewers a good overall message despite it all. But it's going to have to start actually addressing literally anything. At this point, even just one thing would be great. Judging by the preview for episode 11, it looks like the next episode might be an important one. Maybe it'll start to give me some of what I'm looking for. Anyway, thanks so much for watching, like, subscribe, whatever, and check out my copy page gallery to see the finished pictures in these videos. Till next time!